PR Connections Radio presents. This podcast is brought to you by LifeWave. Ready to elevate your wellness game? Meet X39 from LifeWave.com. This game-changing patch uses phototherapy to stimulate your skin, enhancing strength and stamina by channeling your body's innate energy. Simply apply it to harness infrared heat, naturally boosting your vitality. Want to learn more? Visit www.lifewave.com/VernD and step into a healthier, more active lifestyle today.
Hi, welcome everyone. Liberating Menopause. I'm your host, Lisa Vasquez, coming to you from prconnectionsradio.com. I am excited again, as usual, because I just get to talk. I get to talk to women in the workplace. And, in my next season, I'm going to be talking to the women in the evening shifts. And we're going to get into more hormonal patterns that take place when you are fluctuating, going off script, come from a day shift to suddenly, because life has been changing, into a night shift. But today, because today women in the workplace are facing historic disruptions, this is what I want to talk about. Because in the last couple of weeks, I've been talking about the sudden change, the sudden disruptions, women's lives change before she's even ready. And I definitely can relate to that. I know that. I lived it. I walked through it. And on my last conversation, I was talking about all the journeys and the stop-offs that I had to take going from the West Coast, starting at Washington State. So when I had to leave Las Vegas because the world had closed down here and oversaturated in my field, I had to find a job somewhere else in the past. And that was a sudden change. It wasn't that I was preparing for any of that. I never even seen it coming. The world changed when the industry of housing took a big disruptive change and everything started to fall apart. And I was part of that collision. And back then, there was no direction. There was no guidance. There was nobody talking to me. There was nobody I could even listen to who had that type of experience that I've ever known in the whole field of working my 45 years. At that time, it was like at least about 35 years. So you could imagine around 30 years, and all of a sudden I'm disrupted. I'm changed. I got to get out of here. I have to go find a job. I need full time. I don't want to lose everything, but in a woman's life, and not that I was single, I am married, but my husband's job was standing through the storm. It was he who needed to take a change because he needed a surgical procedure on his knee. So because of that, I had to shift out and go back to work so that he can have this time off. I mean, he did get benefits for that coverage, but we needed a little more because I wasn't working. So I went, found that job, started out Washington State, and I came down the whole pike of the whole West Coast. I mean, from Washington State, Northern California, Camarillo, Ventura, Newport, down to Santa Ana, ending up in Rancho Santa Margarita. If you know this path, it comes all the way down and it kind of rounds up. And within 6 years, I was able to return back to Las Vegas, and everything did change, but it was the character building that I picked up on the way. It was the reinforcement of the strength and power I didn't know I had. When we grow up and we're independent women, and if we've never been married, or before we get married, we usually start our careers and are independent and depend on ourselves and figure things out. But once you become as one with a relationship and you have a dependency, now you can relax a little bit, right? I mean, you both are one, you both share in everything, hopefully, and in that organization of life. And now suddenly that dependency kicks you out and you got to go back out there on your own. You have to get out there. And, there's a lot of fears and tears, because you don't know. We're shifting into the unknown, and you're saying goodbye to a life that, wow. And, there's no time to say, why me? There's only time to, say, I got to go. I got to get this taken care of. He needs surgery. I need to go. I need to support my family. I need to be the worker. And, as I was saying today, so many women in the workplace are facing historic disruptions. And it's not because things are falling apart in their life. That was stable. And suddenly it's the work that fell apart. I mean, because AI took over I mean, that has to be, I can't even imagine that type of transition that a woman had to go through within the last, up to 86% of women in the high risk clerical and administrative roles are the women who are really facing a big transition in that, secretaries, payroll clerks, administrative assistants, roles that were once considered so safe, just like I thought my medical field was safe. They're going to need me all the time. Again, I picked a career that was going to give me a license where I can travel with it if I wanted to get up and pack away and leave. Again, I was growing up independent. I was 20. I didn't know what my life would be like, but I wanted to make sure these little check marks were there so that I had the freedom to make that transition for whatever it would have. I wanted to prepare. I'm kind of thankful that I had this type of mentality in my 20s to consider that. Well, I was 15 when I considered getting into radiology. It was 18 when I got into radiology. But to know that the choice that I made, knowing that I'm going to be helping and giving service to people, all that was under my consideration umbrella. And again, I'm only in 18. So what do I know about what this future looks like? I come to 20 years old, I'm working now, and I see this world is so much bigger. This can't be the only job that I'm going to have. There has to be something else because there's too much life to be lived. But when it happens to you suddenly and you've been so comfortable and everything was going good and the mortgage and all that was under the budget of what you were making and working, and then again suddenly considering those 92,000 workers who were released overnight and an entire team like the TSA. I mean, recently we have heard that some of them they did get paid, but there was imbalances about that because some got full checks, some got partial checks. There wasn't the whole accounting of what they were hoping they would receive. So there was still that disruption. And then I think it's been 40 days that they were out of work. So that definitely did take a toll on their life changes and their credit and everything that they had to go through. I mean, I don't know if mortgage companies were supporting them and giving them a chance because they were working there. But then what about the people who did have to quit that job? There was no way to reach for compensation because they quit. So there was that imbalance of what are they going to do? I mean, this juggling has just collapsed. And, how to rebuild. Women are facing that change. And again, in this life with AI, there's nobody to look back on and think of, oh, history can show us something. No, we are that history that's going to show the future of how we transitioned and what took place. Again, I had brought up the theory with the typewriter, how that shifted overnight and the whole world changed with the typewriter, just the typewriter. People had to hurry up and learn how to type if they wanted to get that great job. They had to exercise their mind and body with their fingertips to, catch up and increase that speed, because speed was all about that typing. And so the faster your speed was per minute, the better the job was going to be because you can keep up with the changes. And so we all go through different changes, and these are different cycles of the world transitioning and coming into a new world is what they're calling this rebalance. And this is where we are today, but it's the changes and the transitions and the fears, because again, like I said, back when I was going through it, all you see is everything falling apart. You see people losing their jobs. I mean, so many things had took place, down on the strip and in other big cities when all this shifted, and you only see this happening, and you see that you're a part of it, and you have to give up everything. I mean, because it's all just going away. I mean, I had to send things to storage. I had to sell things. I had to get a place out in Washington State. Husband here had to get a place to sustain himself here. Well, we had the house, and, so he got to stay there for a while. And then I went there and I had to go find this place. And so sustaining and maintaining and trying to balance and hold all these things up. But then think of all the single moms that are out there that are having children to raise. And then when you talk about daycare, I mean, they were talking about the expense of what it costs, which is daycare alone. So now when we kind of figured it out for women at work, we have a place for the children to go to in that daycare. We have all these things in positions, and just like that, it's all been taken away because now those daycare people, they're losing out because people can't send their kids there, right? So they can't pay for this, and all these different things has changed their whole world. And now they're back home and trying to rebalance a life that was left to where society was taking over by having all these options. And now it's all back to home. It's all back to being in the home the way it used to be. The woman at home, the woman cooking, the woman supporting, the woman, cleaning, doing all that stuff because the money is not the same anymore. And so, again, these entire departments that are shrinking and reorganizing or totally disappearing, it's here in that part where women rarely hear. The job market is also opening new doors. And see, back again, when I took that loss, I had to rebalance in every position that I took on the road. Every time I would get a job, I would lose it. But I had to learn it all, and they had to invest in me because they hired me. They had to put me through the HR transitions of the education, learning the PAC system, the computer systems. And so I did, but then suddenly the department was reorganizing, and there I go again, because I'm a newcomer, right? So everybody had to fit in all their little places of where they're going. But for me, it was calling up compensation again. Here I go again. I mean, sometimes when I was let go, I had to make sure that I understood the reasons, because at this point I'm getting experience with compensation. So I have to call them again. And this way I know the questions they're going to ask, and I'm going to have the answers for them. And it happened so many times. I'm telling you, in my whole career, I had never used unemployment like I did at that time. And in different cities, you're collecting. So first it was in Washington State when I had to step down, and, they had a really cool, I have to say, they really supported you very well with their compensation and things like that. And then, I come to California, and then they were really, really good. Not as strong as what Washington State was, but, it was a great way to sustain me through these changes. Again, these are things that you learn on the way. You hear that people take compensation, but you never hear that people keep losing their jobs. You get yourself up. And this is why I called it 3 days from nowhere. But today, because of the way the changes have been taking place, the job markets are also opening new doors. I had to go check on the old doors, the doors that were already open. And then I get in there, and then they'd say, oh, no, sorry, we're reorganizing. Oh, no, sorry. It wasn't until I got to Newport, and that was a really cool place. And when they had to let me go, I was already at an 8-month moment with them. I'm thinking, wow, 4 more months and I made a whole year. And sure enough, 8 months and there I go. But with that company, it was so cool because they actually supported me administrative. They actually helped me find another job. They gave me people to contact, and they fit me in. And when I came out of that job, I ended up with 2 jobs because I was applying, right? So then I had a full-time job, and then I got a part-time job. And so now I have a balance, and I'm living a lot better. And I got my own place where, before I was rooming with somebody, I never had a roommate. I never had to have a roommate. I always had my own home. And all these different things, the test and the challenges that you go through to sustain and really find your power. I mean, to live with somebody when you never had to. I mean, I was 20 years old, and I told you I started with a house. So at this point in that age, to be on the road like that was really an incredible journey by itself. The character building was really incredible. And the power that, even though, it was dark. It was dark. But there was always some kind of light the next day. There really was, whether it was, shining just for a little burst of sunlight, and then suddenly the clouds came back. But at least I could feel a little hope in each time that I transitioned. And until I met this job, and they helped me, and now I have 2 jobs. So I was able to, and then I met a really cool landlord who really kind of understood my situation. And I had the coolest place in California, Rancho Santa Margarita, that I will never regret. I will never look at that time in my life as something, how would you say, something as failure. Oh my gosh, no way. You know what it was had it not pushed me forward, it couldn't have showed me who I would become, who I'm becoming, and where I'm at today. And by doing that, you have to be 3 days from nowhere. You have to be stripped of what you do know so that you can bring in what is coming to you and be opened up to receive that. So, you know, at this part where women are, they rarely hear that this job market. I had just recently been to a conference, and I was having a conversation with a woman who supports women in construction. And she was telling me all about the booming market. And I was like so excited because I know women are rising in construction. But she was telling me how organized and the structure and how it's booming. And I wanted to explore that with you today by, you know, bringing you these cool jobs where you could reclaim control moving forward. Because what happens is, as I said, I couldn't take the radiation with me, but what I could take was everything that was built around that radiation. Those were just buttons to push by a structured machine, right? But it was everything that I gave to create this atmosphere by the respect and conversations and listening to the women in, you know, with the history sheets, by the customer care, by understanding all these different things, understanding scheduling and insurance and all this stuff. And you take all that and you bundle it all up and you think and put it down and try to figure out with all those broken pieces that just collapsed on me, how do I use them to rebuild me? And that's the new growth that's ahead of the old season that this doesn't support anymore. You know, it's not the resistance, it's that we're losing power in that old stuff, that power. Nobody told us that, you know, the power would die out and, you know, create this future for yourselves because this is headed this way. And you know, in the new generation recently, they probably had, because our new generation is all structured and ready to work in the computer world and be with AI. But it's our midlife seniors and senior leaders and again, new secretaries and things like that, that whether they heard it or not, there was no preparation to really understand that if you never step out of the change, the pattern, I would have lost everything. So by moving forward, your old life gets loud because you get all these old thoughts. You get like, wow, all these different things. Had I done it this way, what if I would have stayed working full time? You know, because here I am, I'm the one on the road. I'm the one alone. I'm the one learning how to drive with the GPS into mountains and things. And, you know, it was a structure that had to be, and I had to be part of that process, because if I couldn't build and survive that, I couldn't be returning into more of what that process was actually creating in me to educate me and bring me to this point where I stand today. And when you're in that transition, some people return to the past, and the past has lost a lot of power. That's the whole thing with today. Our past has lost a lot of power because nothing is going to work anymore, because AI has come. And so the resistant careers where women are already thriving, electricians, plumbers, all these senior people who were leading these positions in the past, mostly men, right? But now women are kicking in and they're really taking over. Heavy equipment operators, that really amazed me. Construction managers, civil engineers. So anybody who was in management, it's just really a big understanding of it's no longer in that corporate world to really expand yourself. Women entering these trades are finding high pay. They're finding a stronger job security because AI cannot replace manual dexterity, on-site troubleshooting, or human adaptability. So these fields are exploding with opportunities. Paid apprenticeships. I mean, that was the coolest thing. When I was going to school for x-ray, it doesn't exist today. It's crazy. But it was a clinical on the jobs, on a hands-on clinical experience in the hospital on the floor. What I learned in the morning, I was already doing in the afternoon. It was an incredible way to learn the medical field of radiology. But the benefit was I only paid $200 to go to school. I only had to pay them $200. And then what did they do? Gave me a whole collection of brand new, oh my gosh, books. I wish I could show you one of them because it's still brand new. It's one of my encyclopedias. I mean, there was a 3 set of that, but all the books were free. And then not only that, at the time, I got first year, because it's a 2-year program, I got a $75 stipend. And then the second year, I got a $200 stipend every month. And I got to work the second year. So these things with those apprenticeships, and these are paid apprenticeships. So, these are really cool things that, when you're bottoming out, and if you don't see that, hey, I was a secretary. I really like typing and doing all that stuff. But now you have to take a new shift. It's bringing in your agility, your versatility. It's bringing in, can you go into this transition and not look back, because it's a whole new world now, a lifestyle built on skill, not instability, So, this is just a reminder that you are not losing your life. You are transitioning into the one that can hold you. And again, we have a lot of senior leaders that have to step down or have been released actually in corporate and those administrative jobs. And we have willing women to let go of that old season and that believe that there is a better world. And when I bring this to you, I bring it to you because I want to really prepare you, empower you. I want to show you, because again, we never looked at our hormones being built into any of this. We didn't look at, at some point when you're really down and out and the cortisol is really rising, the inflammation is taking over, we're losing energy, and then we just feel like we're really conking out. I mean, we look like we can't even reach for anything because we feel so weak and we feel helpless. But really, when you understand how to nourish yourself during this by having positivity around you, by having some type of, a lot of the people that have lost their jobs can be a lot of emotional support to each other because they all kind of feel and know what they're going through. Hopefully, they're not all just going into their own little huts and taking care of themselves alone. I hope that there's a big conglomerate of people and women getting together, speaking with each other, feeling the pain that they have to go through, especially for, those paychecks that are not received on time, and what they're doing and the roles they're playing to survive, and everybody learning. And this is why I bring my experience to you, because when you walk that road, it can be very lonely. Because for one thing, lots of times people don't even want to talk about it. I know when I was walking through it, I have a lot of spiritual self-care. I love God faithfully. I enjoy every moment in my spirit. And when you cannot see in a spiritual realm of a person's life, all you see is life being battered. And then people get blamed for, wow, she must have done something to deserve that. But that's not true. There's a moment that if you don't go through a process, if you're not ready to pretty much go through the wash, because you're going through that wash to release who you were, what you did, how you were, because there is a new you arising. And you can't meet that new you if you stay sitting there in a place of loneliness and sadness and feeling like you've done something wrong, because you didn't. We are living in a world that is just constantly transitioning. And when we live in a hormonal life, that's every day, that's nonstop. And nobody ever thought of this, using that as a structure to hold up health the way we talk about it today. And that's why, by giving you my experience, by taking you down, trust me, I told you, I lost my hair, I gained weight, I wasn't sleeping good. I was drinking wine to put myself to sleep. And then I found out by doing that, I really wasn't sleeping at all. And that's because, you're sad, you're lonely, and, you're sitting there. And in some of my cases, it was kind of places that I was living with that roommate I was telling you about. One day we'll talk about that story, because rooming with somebody when you never had to is a very opening of a new season. But, going through that, trying to sustain survival, having your little corner in somebody's house so that you can survive when you've always had so much. When I was living on the ranch, I'm the city girl that grew up in Chicago, raised in Las Vegas pretty much for 33 years, right? But now I find myself on a farm. I'm hanging out with ants. I've got squirrels that are so bigger than anything I've seen in Chicago. Again, going through rainy seasons in the mountains where it's a lot of mud. GPS takes you the wrong way. You find yourself lost in a forest. It was a really crazy time, but this is, the times where you lose yourself and find yourself also. And it's very empowering. And, this is all about moving forward. That movement, it's not a teaser, it's a transformer. And these are such important times for us to really sustain, hold on to. And by bringing you this information, mostly about the new jobs that are out there, by bringing hope, these are the things that I really want to be part of, that positivity in a friend of yours, because this is all about girl chat. This is just me coming to you talking, knowing that, you're out there, there's women that are scared. There's women who have lost so much. They're sitting there wondering, how is this all going to go? What do I keep? What do I let go? What do I store? What can I afford? Can I afford the movers to get it to storage? Then that monthly payment you have to pay for storage. There's so many things. And I'm talking on a single view and not about the family view. And that's what makes it more devastating and harder in this world that has collapsed on so many women today. The ones who feel the tension between what's familiar and what's possible, and the hope that you really have to hold on to and not give up, because every day, again, it's not promised tomorrow, but when you wake up, you're running, you're getting up, you're going to get out in that traffic, you're going to sit there. When I came into that California traffic, I told you 80 miles going, 80 miles coming back. I had a lot of time on the road to think in that traffic. So I did have my cool ministers talking to me on the radio. I was checking in with my spirit. Am I on the right track? Am I doing the right thing? I really need to know, because I don't know. No, I don't know this road. I don't know where I'm at. And one day you're working and contributing and showing up, and the next you're standing in this quiet aftermath of a layoff notice. Every day you want to make sure and check with yourself. And, prayer is everything in this, especially in these times. It was always important, but sometimes that pressure has to be put on to really find and reach the people that are reaching for that hope. And it all comes through that prayer, through that voice, through those silent whispers that only you can give when you're having that conversation in your spirit with God, talking to, because you do feel the tension, and it does sound scary. And it is a lonely place when we don't know when we're walking to, because every day is 3 days from nowhere. It's unknown. I mean, you can't imagine every time I lost my job, I was like, oh no, call home. Uh-oh, here I am again. And I just signed up for a new lease, right? That was my Camarillo visit. Just got there. I had talked to this company. I had checked with them. I wanted to know, how sustainable are you today in this world where everything's falling apart? Because I'm coming from Northern California to take this job. And they pretty much assured me they were a new imaging center. They were, pretty grounded. And no, they weren't, because I got that job for a month and a half. I only had 6 weeks, and I had just signed the lease to have an apartment and everything. And then it fell apart again. So that is why I had to drive from Camarillo going all the way down to Newport, those 80 miles there, 80 miles back. But it was all the process. It was all building the character in me. And the truth no one tells us is that we all have a wilderness to go through. We may not recognize it when we're watching somebody go through it. And again, I told you that blame game, saying, oh my gosh, what did she do? Her life is falling apart. She's losing everything. All these things are happening, and it must be bad. But no, if you can come through different eyes and see on that spiritual side, there's something rebuilding. There's some new power in process rising to bring that survival out of each one of us, because we are made to be here. And that's why they always say, not only the young survive, but the strong survive, right? I mean, if I could take you all the way through what my whole life consisted of being here, and when I look back to see where people are that were in my past life, they're still there, and I'm still here. But I'm here in a new me, in an authentic me, especially since I gave up my radiology license. It's funny, because this whole transition, when you grow into your retirement, when you walk into those new doors of opportunity for this new world of freedom that you see, this is a new preparation. And learning to be 60 is going to be part of one of my conversations in the next season. But I just want to wish you all a very happy Easter. I give prayers and thanks for this journey. And I pray that you can find that there is sunlight beyond those dark clouds. It's all there. And it's just us. Stay looking up, pray up, be strong, and always remember that, it's all about you, and remembering who you are and knowing you are a survivor. And women, we need to own that and be strong with it. So again, happy Easter. Have a great new season, and talk to you soon. Take care, everyone.
PR Connections Radio thanks you for watching this podcast. Check out more episodes of this show and our others at prconnectionsradio.com.